3 questions.
I'd like to join my colleagues as well in our sympathies to Garda Gold and his family and his colleagues. I'd like to start with just the text alert, which you mentioned in your opening address, Commissioner, and by the way, you're very welcome. The text alert, it would seem, has been quite successful, with 125,000 people participating in various groupings. What is the cost to An Garda Síochána in terms of text alerts, and what is your view going forward? Is it your plan to try and increase the number of groups and, by extension then, increase the number of participants in the text alert programme?
Thank you, Senator, and thank you again for your comments. And maybe I can get Deputy O'Coulon to talk about it. But we do have plans in place to increase it. As I mentioned earlier, we're working very closely with the IFA, Muintir na Tíre and Neighbourhood Watch. And it has been a tremendously successful scheme. You know, again, it gives that sense of civic togetherness and people working together and watching out for each other. So it's very welcome. But I can get Deputy O'Coulon, Chair, if that's okay.
Mr. O'Coulon.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yeah, I can't give you an exact figure on the cost, but it's not an expensive system. The issue is that the level of traffic that the actual system produces from the point of view of the traffic out in relation to if an alert goes out, and then the amount of reaction that will get. So there's a learning curve there for all of us, but it is improving to the extent that, you know, we're hearing every day of good news stories about how that has worked in communities. And the thing is that we're working with Muintir na Tíre to ensure that that can be spread and that we can replicate that right throughout especially our rural areas, where we've had great successes on a weekly basis based on the traffic that produces. But I can provide the actual costings at a later time if that's
maybe in your own time.
Through the Secretary.
Yeah.
Second question, Senator.
Thank you for that. My second question relates to the ongoing Garda operation in Shannon Airport as a result of the protests against the American military's use of the airport. I'm presuming that this ongoing operation is a great drain on resources. Have resources that you are deploying to this operation increased in recent times, or have you been able to scale it back and as such then be able to redeploy resources elsewhere?
Commissioner.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Senator. Yes, certainly, Deputy O'Coulon was the previous Assistant Commissioner in the Western Region, and I know he's very familiar with it. But to answer your question, it's something that we keep under review. So as the resources are required, they are deployed there. But when resources are not required there, they can be redeployed to other areas where the need arises. But it's something that the local Chief Superintendent keeps under review.
Excellent. And my final question then, in Gormouth. Basically, cybercrime has increased, and we've seen some, I suppose, young people in particular in recent years who have ended up taking their own lives as a result of cybercrime. Have the numbers of, I suppose, investigations and convictions in terms of cybercrime and cyberbullying in particular increased? Have you had convictions? Have you had much success in that area? And have you a unit within your headquarters or your IT section that's monitoring social media to identify sources of cyber crime and cyber bullying?
Okay, Commissioner.
Thank you, Chair. Senator, it's a very complex and very emergent area insofar as it's a very difficult thing to identify the perpetrators online, and sometimes, particularly the cyberbullying that you mentioned, it's very insidious, and people hide behind all kinds of fake personas and pseudonyms. But we do have a unit that investigates that type of offence. We have a unit who are very focused on ensuring that we're building up our capacity and our capability to be able to deal with that type of crime. It is something that we work very closely as well in a collaborative sense with not just other police forces and other agencies, but also with academia. So we have a particular programme with UCD in Dublin looking at the whole area of forensic computing and cybercrime in particular. It's something, as I say, that is a real growth area, and it's something that we have identified certainly as one of the emerging challenges that we have to deal with.
Thank you very much.